Megaprojects are the name given to the most amazing developments ever completed by mankind, from skyscrapers to bridges and everything in between. Over the last century, engineers have built things unlike anything humanity has seen before. Throughout this time, however, things didn't always go according to plan. And due to the scale of the projects, the results ended up being catastrophic. From the incredible failure of a massive dam in California to an airport built in the middle of nowhere that failed to attract passengers. Here are 5 mega projects around the world that went horribly wrong. Between the years of 1924 and 1926, the city of Los Angeles undertook the development of a new and much-needed dam. Engineer William Mulholland spearheaded the construction of what would be known as the St. Francis Dam, a curved gravity dam that was built with the purpose of storing water for the city of Los Angeles. The dam was going to be an important part of the city's water supply, but things didn't turn out as planned. The dam was completed in 1926 and was located about 40 miles away from the city. Upon completion, water began to fill the reservoir. But problems arose almost immediately. From seepage to cracks in the dam itself, every month seemed to be met with a new challenge. Little did anyone know at the time, it was all leading up to one major event. On March 12, 1928, just before midnight, the dam suffered a catastrophic failure. Although there were no surviving eyewitnesses to the failure, it was determined that it wasn't a gradual failure. The entire dam collapsed at the same time. This resulted in about 12.4 million gallons of water being released into the San Francisco Canyon, causing a wave that was 140 feet tall. This wave was incredibly powerful, destroying everything in its path. After traveling for just over 5.5 hours, the wave washed debris and bodies into the Pacific Ocean nearly 54 miles away from where it started. At this point, the wave was almost 2 miles wide and still traveling around 6 miles per hour. In total, it took the lives of around 400 people. Multiple investigations concluded that the failure in the dam was due to the dam being built on an incredibly unstable foundation. From the very beginning, there was seepage under the foundation, eroding some of it away. Eventually, this led to failures in other areas of the construction until the dam was unable to bear the pressure of the billions of gallons of water. But, as you're about to learn, this wasn't the only dam failure to occur in the state of California, and this next one happened only a few years ago in 2017. Another prominent dam located in California is the Oroville Dam. This large earthfill embankment dam is an important part of the California State Water Project, providing flood control, water storage, and hydroelectric power generation. It is also the tallest dam in all of the United States. For the most part, the history of the Oroville Dam is solid. There have been some hiccups along its lifespan, but nothing too major. That all changed in February of 2017. The problems began with the 2017 California floods, which brought Northern California its wettest winter in nearly a century. Constant storms dropped large volumes of rain and snow in a short amount of time, quickly raising the water levels in Lake Oroville. Rainfall damaged the main spillway, so on February 7th, it was closed for inspection, allowing water levels in the lake to continue rising. Not long after, the main spillway was reopened, but with limited use. Officials hoped it would be enough to lower the water levels, but it was not. Shortly after 8 in the morning on February 11th, water rose over the emergency spillway for the first time since the dam was built in 1968. To make matters worse, erosion at the base of the weir began progressing much faster than expected. Officials realized that there was a real threat that the weir could collapse, sending a wall of water downstream to flood nearby communities. The following day, an evacuation order was announced. In total, 188,000 people temporarily left the area. Shortly after this, the emergency spillway was closed for repairs. The main spillway now took the brunt of the water flow, furthering its deterioration and damage, and also forcing the closure of the hydroelectric plant. In the end, no collapse occurred, and the water levels slowly dropped, allowing for a full repair to be made in the coming months. Thanks to quick action and a bit of luck, a much larger disaster was avoided. Still, the total cost associated with this event is estimated to be around $1 billion. Once upon a time, in the 1980s, the United States wanted to construct the largest particle collider in the world. Plans were put in place for everything to be built in Texas. After its completion, it would have been 20 times larger than any accelerator ever constructed. It would have been even larger than the CERN laboratory in Geneva, Switzerland, where the Large Hadron Collider is. We use the term "would have been" because in October of 1993, the project was abandoned. There is no single reason that explains the cancellation. There were many factors that contributed to its failure. First, there was an inability to secure any foreign funding, which was a pivotal thing. Second, the cost of the project had nearly tripled from the original estimates in the middle of a national recession and political insistence on controlling government spending. And finally, as the project was nearly 20 times bigger than anything physicists had ever managed before, clashes between the accelerator's management team and the military-industrial culture imposed by the U.S. Department of Energy led to seemingly endless audits and an overall lack of trust. Now, with the exception of some underground generators and the miles of tunnels, everything sits empty. The site was originally given to Ellis County, Texas. Numerous attempts to sell the property failed until 2006, when a private investment group purchased the property. It was rumored that there were plans to use the site as a data center, but as of 2011, nothing has been built yet. But, for perspective, the largest currently operating particle accelerator in Switzerland has an energy output of 14 trillion electron volts. Should the superconducting supercollider have been made operational, it would have put out 40 trillion electron volts. North Korea is not a country known for tourism, but back in the 1980s, they were hoping to change this. The idea was that by developing a large hotel, it would attract foreign investors to the country, helping to improve their struggling economy. A representative for North Korea even promised to allow investors to operate casinos, nightclubs, and lounges. It was a move to open North Korea to the rest of the world. But sadly, that dream did not come to fruition. Construction of the Ryugyong Hotel first began in 1987, with the hopes of having it open in 1992, right in time for Kim Il-sung's 80th birthday. By the time this year had come around, the building had in fact reached its full height, a whopping 105 stories. But following the dissolution of the Soviet Union, North Korea entered into an economic crisis and construction was abruptly halted. Fast forward to 2008, when construction commenced once again after 16 years of inactivity. 3 years later, the outside of the building was complete, and I must say, it was looking pretty good. Sadly, that's about where the story ends. An opening was planned for 2013, but later suspended. There has been some evidence of construction continuing, but it's not much. As of today, the Ryugyong Hotel holds the Guinness World Record for being the tallest unoccupied building in the world. In the early 2000s, the European economy was booming. Southern Europe was especially on its way to an economically prosperous season, which meant expansion. This expansion made it possible for construction projects to get easy funding. However, in the mid-2000s, the financial crisis hit. Demand waned for both travel and infrastructure investments, leaving some of the most grand and ambitious construction projects totally abandoned. This was the case for the Ciudad Real Airport in Spain, which reportedly cost over 1 billion euros to construct. The original plan was for the airport to take excess traffic away from Madrid-Barajas Airport. However, there was one immediate problem. The airport was built too far away from the city. At 150 miles south of Madrid, few people were interested in traveling so far for a flight. This was an incredibly surprising fact, as at the time, there were many low-cost airlines that were working to keep costs down by serving secondary airports. However, the Ciudad Real was a bit too remote to properly attract people. In total, the expensive airport was only open for a total of 3 years and saw flights from only 2 airlines, Ryanair and Vueling, with the latter having its flights subsidized by the government. It eventually had to close its doors. Now the massive building remains abandoned, yet is still racking up costs. It has fallen into a state of disrepair, with workers even having to paint large yellow crosses over the crumbling runway so pilots knew the airfield was abandoned. Being a 1 billion euro airport that was abandoned in just 3 years, it was one of the biggest financial failures in the country's history. Mega projects are huge undertakings, so should something go wrong, the results can be catastrophic. To see more videos just like this one, be sure to click the link on screen now. With that, thanks for watching and be sure to tune in next time.